Rev up your engines! Well, here we go. We got a classic, a 1993 Honda Del Sol. They were very interesting cars, and as you can tell by this one, they can take a licking and still keep ticking. Because this baby, it's warning you. Got 243,000 miles on it. Still starts up like the day it was made. It had some rust spots, and you can see he tried brushing the paint on. You can't match that. And the rims are a bit pitted and corroded, but hey, the thing still runs. Even tows stuff with it. The back's got little compartments for storing stuff in them. The top even comes off, but it's covered with ice now, so I'm leaving that alone, but you can take it off. Two-seater Honda Civic base design. And when you look under the hood, this one has the racing engine. This one has the 1.6 liter. Puts out 124 horsepower. The 1.5 liter engine they had only put out 102 horsepower. So it puts out quite a bit more horsepower than the 1.5. It's a 1.6. But yes, it's a Honda engine. They're built to last. Even though this one is 29 years old. Original engine, original transmission, original distributor. It has a rebuilt power steering pump, though I can see that. Still does have the original AC compressor, interestingly enough. And the original alternator down in there. There it is. The Honda's certainly gone a long way since this car, but the Civic Si and the Civic Type R, this is where its ancestry starts. It was a pretty sporty looking car. Even came with a spoiler on the back. Now, bone stock, this thing was able to go 127 miles an hour. And back in the day, I had a customer that souped his up and had a 5-speed tranny go 149 miles an hour. Since this thing has spent most of its life just normal driving, it still runs quite well. With 240-something thousand miles on it. I'm sure it didn't spend much of its life going over 100 miles an hour, but it could if you had to. It's pretty much an Econobox car. It's got little bitty discs in the front. The back ones are discs too, because it's a Del Sol with the 1.6 liter engine. This was the sought after Honda Del Sol. Disc brakes all around, 1.6 liter engine. And 93, of course, you know, it's got fuel injection on it. It's not an old carbureted dinosaur. Honda was one of the early proponents of fuel-injected cars. And look at this. There's the fuel filter. Is it hiding anywhere? No, it's out in the open. The battery's easy to get to. The air filter's easy to get to. We're going to change the spark plugs later. They're easy to get to. Take it for a little spin. The guy drove it all the way here from Montana. Case sticks a little, but what the heck. And check it out. It's in gear. It still doesn't shake much at all. Pretty amazing technology Honda's come out with. Even though it's a 93, they still had decent suspension systems on these things. As you're taking corners, you feel quite safe driving at higher speeds in these things. It still takes the curves quite well. Soft spot for these Del Sols. I thought they were pretty cool little cars. It stops on a dime. It's a light little car. I prefer a standard transmission, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. The guy bought this car at an auction. Somebody had donated it to charity. Swivel for steering fast too. Yeah, it works pretty good. Little drag strip out here in the country. See what these 124 horses can do. Here we go. Hey, it still picks it up, let me tell you. That engine, the tranny still shifts good. It's a Honda. They're well made. It still picks it up, puts it down, let go of the steering wheel, tracks perfectly fine. And his car's almost 30 years old. 243,000 miles. I am impressed by this car. With all the tax and sales and everything at this auction, I think he paid about $1,800 for this car 3 years ago. He suddenly got his money's worth. Hey, it's still a nice cruising car. What a pleasant experience driving this thing around this old. Honda really knew what they were doing, even back in the day. Hey, that power windows there? Let's see if they still work. Yep, they still work. Now, they only sold these from 1992 to 1998. For some reason, they just weren't a hit, but I don't comprehend why. I guess it comes down to the fact, especially in the United States, two-seaters never sold that well. The only two-seat roadster that sold over 1 million was the Mazda Miata. Rather than compete, Honda just decided, 7 years, we won't make them anymore. These babies were all made in Japan. This one was made in Japan. They were all made in Japan. They were solid. Made. Now it's called Honda Del Sol, Honda of the Sun, because the top comes off and you got a sun hole in the top, right? Two-seaters in the United States were never all that popular. The world wasn't ready for it in the United States at that time, I guess. It was known more as a girl's two-seater, just like back in the day, a lot of people said, oh, Mazda Miata, it's a chick car, right? Hey, you can zoop those things up quite a bit. They're fun to drive. They've sold over 1 million of them. Biggest two-seater sales, Sportster, Roadster ever of all time. And these had a lot more potential, but Honda went in other directions. Now, of course, a Civic Type R would run circles around this thing, but this is an $1,800 car here 3 years ago. You'd be lucky if you got 4 tires for a Civic Type R for $1,800 with tax and installation fees. You get the whole car with this thing. But if you are looking for one of these, you want to make sure you don't get a rust bucket. Yeah, it's superficial rust. You see where the rust and things came apart here, and the hood has a part here that he's done over where the rust was here. But structurally, it's still sound. When we go to the undercarriage, still in really good shape. They didn't paint them good and seal them right. You can see on the edge of the fender well where he's done it over. Well, like I say, the rust still solid as can be. Pretty well made vehicle. You might ask, what are you going to tow this sort of thing? Well, this guy just tows little canoes. You can handle canoes. You can get decent aftermarket seat covers too. This is an aftermarket seat cover the guy got for it, and he got it with the green that matched. People still have aftermarket parts for these babies. And listen, it's still a solid car. Try that on a modern Honda. You won't get such a large thunk. These are solid built cars. And this one has still got plenty of life in it. And the weird thing, the air conditioning system still works. As old as it is. Of course, you don't need it today. But last time he worked on it, he filled it up and it lasted 2 weeks and it all leaked out. So he's replaced all the O-rings. And later he's going to have me evacuate the system out and seal it. And he's going to fill it with refrigerant when he gets back to Montana when it warms up outside and see if it lasts or not. Realize with any car that's almost 30 years old, AC is a luxury item. Rubber seals go bad, they start to leak. You can get into a real rat mess. I had a customer who had a 30-year-old Honda Prelude and he kept trying to fix the AC and things just kept breaking, and Honda said, we don't make those parts anymore. It can be a real rat's nest. If you do get an old car like this and you want AC, my advice is throw everything away and install an entire aftermarket system. The compressor, the evaporator, even the condenser in the front. I would replace it all with an aftermarket kit. Don't keep fixing an old clunker AC system if you have to have it. But then again, he lives in Montana. How hot does it get in Montana? I'd worry more about the heater, and the heater's still putting out plenty of hot air when I'm driving around today in the snow of Tennessee. The Honda Del Sol, almost 30 years old, 243,000 miles. Honda, they knew what they were doing when they built these cars. That still goes down the road pretty darn close to what it was like when it came off the factory floor in Japan almost 30 years ago. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Dembe says, my car's overheating. Got an automatic Toyota. It's been overheating. I took it to the mechanic, he changed the gasket and it still overheats. What could be the cause? Well, one, you're dealing with a crappy mechanic. I suppose he means the head gasket. That's a big job, taking the engine apart, replacing the head gasket, and if it still overheats, it wasn't a problem. The guy was an idiot. There are scores of reasons your car can overheat, but generally there's only a few common ones. So for that, watch my video. How to fix an overheating car engine, Scotty. Watch the whole video. Could be a stuck thermostat. Could be your water pump isn't pumping water. Could be your radiator's clogged up. Could be you got a leak anywhere that your pressure test. Watch that video, have all those tests done, and most importantly of all, find another mechanic. If he can't figure out why a car is overheating, why could he call himself a mechanic? The guy's a moron. And if he did the head gasket job, something that big, and it didn't fix it, I'd strangle the guy. That's a very expensive job that he did unnecessarily if it didn't fix your car. You need a new mechanic. Start there and watch my video and pray it's something simple like a thermostat or the radiator's clogged up or the water pump isn't pumping water. Any mechanic can check that stuff out in 5 or 10 minutes and figure it out. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.